Hi guys. So I'm waiting for my food to cool. So if you notice in my how-to videos, I don't have a microwave in my cottage. I just have a stove. So basically I heated up leftover tacos. Fuck. That's fantastic. Okay, so when you heat stuff up on the stove, all over my IFS book, fabulous. Just fucking fabulous. Okay, so shit, and now it's ripping. Son of a bitch. Damn it. Okay, so I have to heat everything up on my stove or my oven because I don't have a microwave, which I had to do for a while when I didn't have a microwave because it broke, because I was cleaning it and my hand went through. There's this radioactive box in your microwave that when I found that out, I was like, why are we heating things up in the microwave? This sounds super dangerous and unhealthy. And it actually is really super dangerous and unhealthy, guys. It's this insane amount of wattage that heats up your microwave. So then I started researching microwaves more. And then I was like, I don't want to get a microwave. Let's get a toaster oven. It sounds healthier and better. So we had a toaster oven for a while. And then we were like, why do we have a toaster oven? We could just do this on the stove and the oven. So then eventually we took it back, and Walmart, I guess, has a 30-day policy if you're not satisfied with their product. So we got a full refund. We cleaned it really good before we gave it to them and stuff. So that was really nice. So thank you, Walmart. Because we realized after a week with that thing that it was basically just a small oven and stove. So we were wasting our time buying this stupid thing that we could have just heated crap up ourselves inside of our oven and stove. So then we just did that for a while we contemplated getting the microwave, and then we're like, whatever, we're just gonna get a super cheap microwave. So we got a super cheap microwave, the cheapest one they had at Walmart. I think it was $30. So we bought that. It was super small. And then I think we had it for 6 months, and then we moved into an RV that already had a microwave built in. So we had to sell it anyway. So it's kind of we could probably just heated up food the whole time. So the whole 3 months that I've been at this cottage, I've just been heating my food up on the stove and the oven because I don't have a lot of counter space, and I literally have to buy a separate cabinet or something to store the microwave on, which that's furniture and an appliance. So I just thought that was a waste of time and money. So I'm just heating stuff up on the stove, and actually it's healthier for you and it tastes better. The problem is it's super freaking hot when it comes out if you don't pay attention to how long it's been in there for. This makes me so sad, you guys. Okay, anyway, so this one is really interesting. It's gonna be longer, so I'm waiting for my food to cool down. So maybe I should wait to do this. No, I'm just gonna get into it, and I'll eat in front of you guys while I'm doing this if I need to. Okay, so chapter 4, accessing parts. So I put in the link the downloadable guide meditation that covers the material in chapters 4 through 8. So this is chapter 4. For the next 4 chapters, this downloadable guided meditation material, you can use those meditations to do this and go through it. So and it's an MP3 format. Which is basic audio format. So you should be able to just download it on your computer and use it. And I think I have them downloaded on my computer to use. But it's free. Basically, you pay for the book and then you get it, and I'm giving it to you guys for free. So don't tell Weiss. Okay. Trailhead. Let's suppose you have an issue you would like to work on. How do you know what parts to explore? In IFS, issues are sometimes referred to as trailheads. A trailhead is an experience or a difficulty in your life that will lead to interesting parts if you follow it. It can be a situation or person that you react to, an emotional or bodily experience, a pattern of behavior or thinking, a dream, or anything else that indicates one or more parts to explore. IFS calls it a trailhead because it is the beginning of a trail that can lead to healing. Okay, it usually involves both a life situation and your response to the situation. Accessing a part. You begin an IFS session by accessing a part that you believe will be helpful to work with. It might be related to an important trailhead, or it might be causing you intense feelings in the moment. The emphasis in this chapter is on how to make simple contact with the part. Getting to know the part fully will be covered in succeeding chapters. we are starting with protectors. It is best to close your eyes during this process and for the rest of any IFS session. We also recommend doing this work in a private room where you won't be disturbed by people, pets, phones, or computers. This cuts down on distractions and allows you to focus completely on the protector you are accessing. Okay, so part activation. A part is activated when its extreme feelings or beliefs are triggered by a situation or person. You can feel that the part is here, present within you. Target part. This is the part you are focusing on or working with. Ways to access the part. Access the part. I don't know why I keep saying access. Access the part. Emotion. How it feels emotionally. Visual. An image of the part. Body. Sensing the part in your body. Verbal. Listening for what the part says to you. 5. Name for the part. A descriptive phrase, person's name, character, animal, and so on. Okay, so the body sense is often the most direct route for accessing a part, but it is not completely necessary for making contact and getting information. A part can show up as a sensation in or around your body. It can be a chronic sensation like a stiff neck or a habitual way of holding your arm, or it can be a sensation that arises in the moment as you pay attention to the part, like an emptiness in your chest, a queasy feeling in your belly, or a sudden headache. When you access a part, try for as many channels of information as you can because they each have value. But you only need one of the above. Once you have accessed a part through one or more channels, allow a word or phrase to arise that describes the part as you are experiencing it. You might ask the part how it would describe itself. Okay, so here's how my parts were like accessed. So like the shadow kid, we'll start with. The shadow kid would always like when she had me sit down, when Quinn had me sit down in her office the very first time I did IFS, she had me close my eyes, and the first person that I met was the shadow kid. So like he's like very important to me because he is the first one that I met. So like she had me close my eyes, and then she just started like telling me to describe this like trailhead. And like the visual aid she used is she had this picture of this woman next to this tree, and there was a farmhouse in the background, and there's like a huge like field of just like yellow like grass, like yellow gold grass. And so she was just laying like a mermaid by this tree, like a mermaid would on a rock, and like just like I can't remember if she was looking at the tree or looking at the ground, but she wasn't looking at you, like at the person. She was looking in like a far off direction at something else. So like I visualized myself as this girl sitting by this tree in this field, and like this like farmhouse behind me. So like I was just focusing on that picture, and then she told me to close my eyes. So I closed my eyes, and then I felt this like poke in my head, like immediately, like on the left side of my brain. And so I have a very, very dominant right brain. My left brain is like basically like I have to work really hard to have a good left brain because my right brain is like so easily and effortlessly strong. I was just like gifted with a lot of creative talents and very strong. I'm very right brain dominance. I'm right side dominance. Like whenever I do anything, like I write with my right hand, I throw with my right hand, I do everything with my right hand. My left side, I have to work at. Like I have to work at very hard with my left side. Anything strategic or like math or science or like business, like everything left brained, I have to work my ass off to do well. Like I can do it. I just, it literally like hurts my head and like cause it. Like I need to take a nap after I use my left brain. Cause it's like, I have to work so unbelievably hard that I'm like exhausted after using my left brain. So like, it's just very hard versus my right brain. Like I could literally be up for days and ideas would flow, creativity would flow. I could come up with choreography, like I could do art, I could do sewing projects. Like that stuff just literally comes in my brain super, super easily and effortlessly. Like there's no work at all on this side of the brain. Like it's just like programmed and it's wiring and it's constantly moving and acting. Whereas this one is like hibernating constantly. I don't know if it's because the right brain is like so freaking powerful that it's like eating my left side of my brain. Like you will not cross us. We are better than you. And like my left side of the brain is like, shut up, assholes. And like, I need to fucking do some work too now. So like when that happens, it's like this like quiet, shy little child. So it's probably like the shadowy figure is like the left side of my brain, in my like opinion. So like this tiny little like side of my left brain, which is probably like the size of a fucking peanut, versus like my right side of the brain, I feel like it's the size of like an orca whale. Like it's just like literally just like eating at the peanut and like picking at the peanut and like, we're better than you, blah, blah, blah. And then the peanut's like just like cowering in like a little corner. That's like how I visualize my brain, guys. Okay, so like my peanut left brain is like, it's like, no, I'm going to be studious. I'm going to do things. I'm going to be smart too. Like, I can do these things. I can do hard things. Like, stop bullying me, right side of the brain. I'm going to take care of this. So like, that is my like analytical side of the brain. And it has eventually powered. And I feel like now the two are like partners and they're like good. But I still feel like the right side of the brain gets very egotistical and like still tries to like pick at and like overpower my little peanut side of the brain. And my little peanut side of the brain like has this trauma from the right side of the brain constantly dominating it. So it like hibernates sometimes, but then sometimes it'll like bust out of its shell and be like, back off, right brain. So that's how I visualize it. Okay, guys. So like, okay, so like I felt this like thing on the left side of my brain. It was just like this little tiny like dot of pain. And it just kept like throbbing in my head. And then she's like, what are you thinking about? What's happening right now? And I was like, I have this pain in the left side of my brain. It's like a really tiny dot. And she's like, how big is the dot? I was like, it's very tiny. Like it's literally like a little freckle or like a speck. Like it's a very tiny pain. And she's like, okay, was it a sharp pain? Is it a shooting pain? Is it a throbbing pain? And I was like, now it's starting to throb. Like it was like when I started paying attention to this little like part in my left side of my brain, it was like, she can hear me. She knows she's talking about me right now. Oh my gosh. And like, it's like shouting and like throbbing. And I was like, it's starting to hurt. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. Oh my gosh. The whole left side of my brain hurts right now. Like, what is happening? And she's like, Chelsea, there's a part in there that's trying to talk to you. And it has a lot to tell you. You have been ignoring this part for a very long time. And I was like, okay. And she's like, tell the part you're sorry for ignoring it. And so I like told it in my head, I'm sorry for ignoring you. And then I was like, okay, I told it. She's like, what is it saying? I'm like, it's not saying anything. And she's like, that's interesting. And she's like, it's not saying anything. And I was like, no. She's like, does it look like anything? And I was like, what do you look like? I like asked in the brain. And all of a sudden this like Gumby shadowy figure just like appears out of nowhere. And I'm like, it looks like a little gray person. And she's like, how old is the person? And I was like, how old are you? And it didn't say anything. But it grabbed my hand. And then I told her what it was doing. And she's like, follow it. Follow that part. And I was like, where are we going? I like asked it in my head. And the part just like pulled me like super fast. And all of a sudden it's like we're time traveling. And there's just like, I'm in some like warped like thing where we're just like running through these like black tunnels. And like all of a sudden we like come out and there's like this beautiful like night sky. And then like it stops and it like has me look at the night sky. And I'm like, this is beautiful part. Like, is this where you live? And the part shakes its head no. And then it takes my hand and it starts traveling again. And it's like, there's just like stars flying past us. And we're like running to the moon. And then it's pulling me to Earth. And then it's like showing me the solar system. And I'm like, this is really cool, but where are you taking me? Where do you live? And so like, it like, I can't see where we are. And then all of a sudden, like, we're on like this like path. And then I'm like, we're on a path. And she's like, good. And she's like, follow him on the path. And I was like, okay. So I'm following this little gray, like shadowy figure on this path. And like, it's just like a path with like trees. Like, I don't really see anything, but I know we're on Earth. And so like, it's just walking on this path very slowly, just walking. And I'm following it. And he let goes of my hand and we're just walking next to each other on this path. And I like see it's like standing by me. Like I can see it in my brain standing by me because my eyes are closed this whole time. And I see it next to me. And it's like shorter than me, but almost the same size as me. And I'm trying to figure out how old this thing is. And I'm just like, how old are you? And he stops and he turns to me and he shakes his head. Like, I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, can I guess? And he like nods his head. I was like, okay, are you 5? No. Are you 8? And he just keeps doing this. And I'm like, are you 8? And he just keeps doing this. And I was like, so you're not 8. And he just keeps doing this. And I'm like, I don't know what do you want from me? And then he just keeps walking. And so I'm following him. And we're like on this trail walking through these like woods, and the woods start to get like less dense and thick. And then all of a sudden we're in this field. And it looks a lot like the field from the picture that I was looking at before I closed my eyes. But it's like beautiful. Like it's like it's like a field I've never seen, and it's just miles and miles of field and sky, and there's no mountains, there's no trees, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, like, he grabs my hand and he like starts tugging me and tugging me. And so I'm following him and I'm following him. He takes me to this tree, like in the middle of this huge field, kind of like the tree that was in the picture, but it's different. It's like, I'm trying to describe this tree. Like, it's like this perfect tree. Like, you can climb it, you can like sit under it and have like the perfect amount of shade. And like the bark is like just the right amount of like bumpy and smooth. And like, it looks like the root system is healthy. Like, it's nice and green and like lush, but it's like, it's not a tree I've ever seen before. Like, it's like, I don't know. So, and like later when I was in prison, God told me that tree, no, was I in prison? I think I was in the mental health treatment facility. So he told me that this tree that I saw is actually the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, guys. Like fucking awesome. So I was like, so I saw the tree of the knowledge of good and evil like 4 years ago. And he's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, that was the tree of the knowledge. That's what it looked like. And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, I didn't see any fruit on it. And he's like, there isn't fruit on it anymore, Chelsea. And I was like, I don't understand. He's like, there doesn't need to be fruit on it anymore because people know good and evil now. And I was like, okay. And I was like, so what is the tree of life then? And he's like, I'm glad you asked that. He's like, I never saw it. I was like, you created it. And he's like, I know. And he's like, but I never saw it. And then I was like, I'm very confused right now. And he's like, one of the 3 persons created it, but he's like, I never saw it. And I was like, I don't understand what you're telling me. And he's like, I think it might be a plum tree, Chelsea, or an apple tree. And he's like, or it could be an orange tree. Like, he's getting like all excited. I'm like, is the tree of life all of the trees with fruit on it, God? And he's like, probably. I was like, so let me get this straight. You put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden with one bad tree and a million good trees. And they ate from the one fucking bad tree, and they could have eaten any of these other fucking trees and stayed in the Garden of Eden, but they didn't do that. Instead, they hid and they were like scared. They never ate from the tree of life. And then he's like, I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? And I was like, any tree. They could have fucking eaten any fucking tree and they would have been able to stay in the Garden of Eden. And he's like, that's sad, isn't it? I was like, that is so fucking sad. And then I was like, so we could have all had the Garden of Eden had they just listened to your rules and like eaten from the tree of life only and not eaten from the child. He's like, no, Chelsea, I was the tree of the garden of the knowledge of good and evil. And I'm like, so I saw you, God. I saw the tree. Like, I touched your bark. I touched your leaves. He's like, I felt you. And I was like, you did? And then he's like, I was preparing things for you and I wanted you to see this, but you had to deal with your own trauma first. And you have to do all these things before you can go to heaven. And he's like, but when you get to the Garden of Eden, Chelsea, he's like, you need to find this tree. And then I was like, how am I going to find it, God? He's like, it's going to look like the vision that you had when you were talking to the little boy. And he's like, and that little boy, Chelsea, he's like, that little boy, he doesn't have a family. And then he's like, that little boy is a part inside you that has been there for a very long time. And he wants you to be his mom. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, no. And so like, I've gotten to know this part over the last 4 years. Like, I know him very well. He doesn't speak though, but God said, when I see him in the Garden of Eden, he's finally going to talk to me and I'm finally going to hear his voice. And then he's going to tempt me. He's going to tempt me with a tree and he's going to try to get me to eat the fruit, even though there isn't any fruit on the tree. And I have to explain this to him. And like, I have to tell him the Bible story and I have to like tell him like all the stuff that I know. Like, literally, I'm going to spend like, and it just has to be me. Like, my partner can't come. Our other children can't come. Like, I have to go by myself. I have to find the path that like he showed me. And I have to go to this little boy who's waiting for me on this tree, who's been waiting there for a very long time. And I have to talk to him and he's going to smile when he sees me and he's going to try to tempt me and he's going to pretend he's the devil because he knows this story. And like, this is like his like purpose, like his destiny. He's been waiting for me this whole fucking time. Like, so I'm like super excited. So like, I was wanting to adopt from foster care ever since I was a little girl. And so this boy God created so that way I could adopt him from foster care. Like, he's an orphan and I'm going to foster him. I'm going to invite him to our house with my family, my 3 children that are going to be there. And like, I meet him when I'm pregnant. And so like, he like has to show me like all of these, like, some of it I don't know yet. I'm going to find out when I get there. But like basically like I have to be tempted by him. And then if he decides that I passed the test, then he'll tell me, and then I'm going to invite him to be a part of our family. And he's going to say, you can foster me, or I'm going to observe your family from the outside and just watch your family. Like, I would like to meet your family, but I don't want to be part of your family yet. And I'm going to say, okay, because he has behavioral issues. And so like, because he's been alone for all this time. So like, he is going to like, basically like, we're going to become really good friends. He's going to fall in love with my family. And then as long as that happens and like he approves of my family, like we get to adopt him, which I'm really excited about because I did not get to foster to adopt on Earth, but I will get to do it in heaven. So I'm very excited about that in the freaking Garden of Eden, guys. So like, okay, so back to this. So then basically, so that was like my start of it is like I met him and like we've gotten to know each other with that. So that was that one. And then my mom, like, so she like physically abused me, and like I have like a like slight curve in my spine. I see a chiropractor for like a really long time. I've been seeing chiropractor because she threw me into things, and she wasn't a good mom like for my teenagers. She was a good mom in my childhood. She's a little emotionally and mentally abusive during my childhood, but it was like stuff that I could tolerate, I guess. And like I definitely had trust issues. I still have trust issues with her. But like I stopped respecting her, and I stopped listening to her, and I stopped wanting her to be my mom when she threw me into a wall. When I was 22, like she threw me on the bed one time and started beating me, and that was like confusing because I remember getting out of the shower. I wasn't even dressed yet. I was just like in a robe or a towel. I don't even remember. And like I was tired and exhausted. It was like a long day of school. I was in high school, and like I had worked at Dairy Queen like too many days that week, and like I just wanted to like watch a movie and just like chill in my room. And instead, I had to go shopping with my grandma, and I hated shopping. Like it literally is like was the most stressful. Like I've conquered my fear because I married someone who loves shopping and like made me less disgusted by it and like less anxious around it. But like my mom used to leave me in stores all the time. She would shop as like therapy, and she would literally get like lost in shopping. Like, and while doing that, she would lose me in the store. Usually my brother was in the cart, so he didn't get lost, but I always got lost. And like I didn't get lost. My mom got lost. I would watch her like a fucking hawk. And if there was like a crowd or something happened, I would start hyperventilating and having a panic attack in the middle of the store because I knew I wasn't going to find her for a while. So like I just got smart about it. Like I would go immediately and page her. I embarrassed her in the fucking store so everybody knew that she lost her fucking kid. I would ask strangers if they could help me find my mom, and like I would describe her to them, and they would be very concerned, and they would all like go looking for. So like I fucking made sure that I was never lost again in the store because my mom fucking lost me so many fucking times. So like I learned how to manipulate it. So like every time we had to go to the store, like I would get like super anxious, and I'd be like, no, or I would try to come up with ideas. Like I would be like, Mom, like I'm going to hang onto the cart the whole time. And she'd be like, okay, Chelsea, whatever. Or like, I'd be like, Mom, like maybe you should give me your purse. So that way, like you can find your purse and then you'll know that I'm missing. And she's like, I'm not giving you my purse. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like, and then like, I don't know. So basically, like, I tried to brainstorm ways to make me less anxious about shopping, and she didn't fucking appease any of them or like comfort me or try to make me feel better that she's not going to lose me. No assurance that I'm not going to get lost this time and she's not going to forget about me. Like, terrible fucking mom. So basically, I just had to rely on my fucking self, and God helped me. And like, I'd pray in the middle of the store. Like, I don't know. Like, I think my sweetest revenge before this even became a huge problem was I dropped like a cereal box in the store when I was like 2, and I said, oh shit, super loud. And that was the first word that came out of my mouth. Not mommy, not daddy. Oh shit was Chelsea Marie Stack's first fucking word at 2 in the grocery store in front of fucking everybody. She was so fucking humiliated. She fucking deserved that shit for what she did to me for decades after that. Anyway, so I'm really happy that God made that my first word. And I'm really happy that it embarrassed the fucking shit out of her. But apparently not enough apparently enough that she just like forgot me in the fucking store because she didn't want me around because I was such an embarrassment to her. Like, I don't fucking care. So, like, she shouldn't have fucking had me if she didn't want me, or she should have fucking put me up for adoption. Do you know how many times I threatened to call social services on her, like, as a kid? Like, I would tell her I'm calling the police and services because she's not being a good mom, and she would hide the fucking phone. If you're hiding the phone from your child when they're threatening to call social services on you, you're probably not a good parent. Anyway, so I am gonna have my perfect fucking family in heaven and my sweetest revenge, because my mother told me as a little girl that the only reason she had me was so she could become a grandmother. She didn't care if I had pets for grandchildren. She didn't care if I had children for grandchildren, but she had me so she could become a grandmother. So guess what, guys? My mom doesn't get to meet any of her fucking grandchildren. No, my dad gets to see them in heaven. My grandparents, who I love and adore and admire and were my best role models and like my protectors growing up, they get to meet all my family in heaven, but she doesn't fucking get to meet them for 3.5 to 4 years. Ultimate revenge, Debbie Sack. Fuck you. Okay, so I'm very happy about this, guys. She got to meet her pet grandchildren, but that's it. That's all she fucking gets. So that is like God's gift to me. It's like, your mom sucked and she doesn't fucking listen to you. She doesn't fucking go to church. She doesn't fucking pray. She doesn't fucking do anything. So guess what, Chelsea? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to have 5 perfect children in heaven, and I don't want her to meet any of them until she goes to heaven. And I want her to suffer on earth for a very fucking long time before that all happens, so that way she does not get to meet them, and that they're like fully grown and already been raised by me for a long time before she can fucking destroy them and damage them or do anything to them. And he's like, sounds good. We like fucking shook on it and like fist bumped, like put together a secret handshake, and he was very proud of my decision. Thought it was very good and like just and whatever. Okay. 3 ways to begin: having a specific part in mind, working with a trailhead, starting with your current experience. Okay, so 1, working with a specific part. Think of a part that you are interested in getting to know. Check to see if the part is activated at the moment. You can tell if the part is present in the moment by noticing if you can see or feel it. Do you easily see the world from its point of view and feel its emotions? When a part isn't activated, if that part isn't activated, think of a recent situation when the part was activated. Imagine yourself in that situation right now. Okay, so here's the exercise. Accessing a part that isn't activated. Choose one of your parts that isn't activated right now. Take a moment, close your eyes, deepen your breath. So everybody should be either laying down or sitting down. So I'm going to go get my food and let you do that. And then remember, you're going to deep breathe, inhale, lengthening your spine, catching the breath in your nose, exhale, letting the breath out your mouth. Remember, you can box breathe. You can inhale for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4. You can do 4, 7, 8 breathing. You can hold for a count of 4, or inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, exhale for a count of 8. You can do that like nose nostril thing that I like taught you guys last time. So just lay down, get comfortable, either fully on the ground, reclined somewhere, or sitting up nice and straight. Remember, if you are prone to falling asleep when you're relaxed, probably don't lay down. Make sure you're sitting on like a pillow or cushion. So I'm gonna let you guys do that. I'm gonna let you breathe, and I'm gonna get food because I'm starving. Okay, you want to get that? Good boy. Okay, guys. Keep breathing. Okay, so we're going to choose one of your parts that isn't activated right now. Take a moment, close your eyes, deepen your breath, and imagine that you are in a situation in which the part is activated. Notice how it feels to be there. From that place, try accessing the part using each of the channels: feeling, image, body, and internal voice. Write down what you experience. So I want you to take some time to get to know this part. If you need to pause this, maybe we should do this. Pause it, get to know the part, and then press play for the rest, because I don't want to give you 20 minutes and then this is an hour long. So just pause it right now and focus on that. And then I'm going to get in with the next reading after I'm done eating this. Okay, so this is the one I wrote down. Name a part: Shadow Kid, which I thought was preteen Chelsea. The situation that activates the part: mom abusing me during preteen and teen years, verbally, physically, and emotionally. What the part feels emotionally: hurt, untrusting, scared. What it looks like: a small shadowy child by a tree on traveling through light tunnels in night and sky. What it feels like in your body: tension on left side of forehead. What the part says: it's 12 years old. Mom quit her dream job and became abusive toward me. Saw her rocking in a rocking chair surrounded by hoarding piles. She wrote, "F you, Mark, Dad. This is all your fault," on wall, and hit it with a dresser. Okay, so example. Accessing a part that isn't activated. Name of the part this person put: for perfectionist. The situation that activates the part: finding a rip in my backpack. What the part feels emotionally: I feel safer when things are perfect. What it looks like: a perfect box, all sides completely the same with right angles all equal in size. What it feels like in your body: tension in my chest. What the part says: I like to be safe, and I feel safe when everything is the way that it should be. I feel safe when there is a sense of harmony, wholeness, and evenness, and everything is the same. Okay. Number 2, identifying the parts at a trailhead. Think of an issue or situation that you are interested in exploring. Imagine yourself in that situation or with that person or having that experience. Notice a part that is activated and access it. Now ask that part to step aside so you can see what the other parts are. What other parts are there? Notice another part that is activated and access it. Repeat until no new parts are activated by that trailhead. Trailhead questions. Here are a few questions you can ask at a trailhead to identify the parts. What is the main feeling or part in this situation? Is there another part that feels different or opposes that part? Are there any feelings of self-judgment or critics that are reacting to the situation? Is there any other part that would like its voice to be heard on this issue? So I want you to ask those questions to your part. Pause this, ask those questions to your part, rewind it, whatever, to replay those questions and ask them in your head or ask them out loud, however you want to do it. And then close your eyes and explore that for a little bit. And I'm going to eat again, and then we'll go to the next thing. Food's getting cold, guys. I waited too long. Tabby, come here. Tab, here's some food. Can you eat this, please? No, that's not food. Can you eat this? That's from the cats. Good boy. Do you want that one? Do you not like green pepper? You don't want that? No interest in the green pepper. It's right here. Honey, right here. This is food. What does it taste like? Do you like that? No? Okay, I'm going to throw that out then. Okay, guys. Identifying the parts at a trailhead. Choose a trailhead that you are interested in exploring. If it is not current in your life, take a moment to close your eyes and imagine you are in the situation now. Ask yourself what parts are here as I connect with the situation or look at this issue. List the parts at this trailhead one by one as they arise. For each part, write as much of the following information as you can. Remember, you haven't fully explored these parts, so don't be concerned if you don't know much about them. Just fill in what you know. You can add more information later. Name of the part: the witch. What the part feels emotionally: hurt, ashamed, angry. What it looks like: tiny black shadowy witch silhouetted by a stained glass window. I drew a picture. So it's my witch. What it feels like in your body and where: tension on shoulders. What the part says: cousin and aunt teased, taunted me. Cousin locked me in a basement at a party, pressured me to get a tattoo, and judged my appearance after insisting we shower together. She also kissed my college sweetheart, or she attempted to kiss him on the lips, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, in this family, we always kiss." Yeah, she's a fucking piece of shit slut. Okay, how it makes you behave: verbally attack them in text. What it wants: resolve differences. Okay, so sample: identifying the parts at a trailhead. Situation: someone elbowed me on a bus. Name of part one: anger. What the part feels emotionally: disrespected, fiery. What it looks like: smoky nosed dragon. What it feels like in your body and where: face, tight jaw, burning eyes. What the part says: I hate you. How it makes you behave: mean and grouchy. What it wants: to protect itself. Sample continued from previous page. Name of part two: judgment. What the part feels emotionally: self-righteous. What it looks like: snarky old man pointing a finger. What it feels like in your body and where: tension in midsection, raised shoulder. What the part says: you idiot, how could you be so thoughtless? You are so selfish, pay attention to what you are doing. How it makes you behave: shaking my head, scoffing, name calling. What it wants: the other person to feel small and stupid and go away. Name of part three: fear. What the part feels emotionally: I am not safe here. What it looks like: someone cowering. What it feels like in your body and where: shivering all over. What the part says: I am not safe here. It is unpredictable. Anything could happen. I could get hurt. What it makes you behave: how it makes you behave: shrinking away, looking around warily. What it wants: safety, protection, help. Name of part four: physically hurt. What the part feels emotionally: sad, pained. What it looks like: child crying. What it feels like in your body and where: contracted, where struck, face contorted. What the part says: ow, that hurts. How it makes you behave: crying and letting it out. What it wants: someone to comfort it. Okay, starting with your current experience. The third way to access a part is by staying present in the moment and exploring what parts are there. Turn your attention to your current experience and see what parts you notice. What emotions are you feeling? What internal messages do you hear? And what body sensations or tensions come into your awareness? Assume that all of these are from parts. Feel into an emotion or body sensation and see what gradually emerges. Exercise: identifying the parts in your current experience. Take a moment to close your eyes, deepen your breath, and focus inward. So everybody should be closing their eyes again in that comfortable place, just listening to you talk and focusing on your parts. Ask yourself, what parts are here in my current awareness? So ask them that. What emotions am I feeling? What thoughts or messages am I telling myself? What body sensations are present? One by one, as they arise, write them down. For each part, write as much of the following information as you can. As before, you haven't fully explored these parts, so don't worry if you only know a little about them. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys do that for a little bit, and then I'll read you mine and the examples, and then we have, interesting. And then we have like 3 pages left. This one's a little more intense because you're actually accessing parts in this one. Okay, guys. Name of my part: bipolar theater mask with giant fist and dragon. What it feels emotionally: carefree, happy, sad, angry, worried, adventurous, confused, brave. Fist smashes ground and dragon mouth breathes fire. What it looks like: a two-faced masked person who boxes, skis, dance, cliff jumps off waterfalls. This is a picture of it. Okay, so that's the fist. This is like the water. I think that's supposed to be the sun. This is the bipolar theater mask. And then this is like the flames coming out of like its mouth. Okay. All right. What it feels like in your body and where. All the emotions at once with tension in my back. So this is my mom, guys. Bipolar theater mask. She's fucking bipolar. Giant fist because she is fucking physically abusive to me. And a dragon because the fucking shit that comes out of her mouth doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just fire and mindless and bullshit. Okay. What the part says: it's 21 years old and wants to live life to the fullest. How it makes you behave: hypomanic and depressed. What it wants: lay in bed all day, relaxing, and go shopping, driving, dancing, and having fun. Okay. Sample: identifying the parts in your current experience. Name of the part: anxiety. What it feels emotionally: worried about upcoming meeting. What it looks like: TV static. What it feels like in your body and where: jazziness in chest and belly. What the part says: you're not prepared. They're not going to like you. How it makes you behave: hyperactive, distracted. What it wants: to run away. Name of part 2: critic. What it feels emotionally: angry at me. What it looks like: harsh mother. What it feels like in your body and where: tight jaw, tension in arms, contracted chest, pointing finger. What the part says: you didn't prepare, you wasted time, you're lazy. How it makes you behave: agitated, disorganized. What it wants: for me to focus and get something done. Name of part 3: scared child. What it feels emotionally: afraid of being found to be inadequate and then rejected. What it looks like: 5-year-old cowering in the corner. What it feels like in your body and where: hands overhead, crying. What the part says: I'm sorry, I'm not good enough. How it makes you behave: scared and withdrawn. What it wants: to feel safe and accepted. Okay. Exercise: noticing a part in real time. This is an exercise you can do during the week as homework practice. Choose a part that gets activated with some frequency in your life that you want to learn more about. You might take a moment and let that part know in some way that you're interested in getting to know it better. My part is the hairy mute. I did not draw this one. I drew it somewhere else. I thought I drew it in here, but I don't know. It's like basically it's literally like a ball with like eyes, and it doesn't talk. It doesn't have a mouth. It just has eyes, and it's like super hairy, like a pom-pom with eyeballs. Okay. What it feels emotionally: anxious, scared, sad. What it looks like: big ball of hair that covers its mouth. What it feels like in your body and where: light pressure on left side of forehead. What the part says: it's 16 to 18 years old, nods head but won't speak. How it makes you behave: desire to hide or commit suicide. What it wants: to speak but it's too afraid to. Noticing the part. Over the next week, practice noticing when this part is activated. It will help to know what cues will tip you off that it is activated. What body sensations, thoughts, or emotions will let you know it is up. For example, a tight stomach, revenge fantasies, or feeling teary like a child. Light pressure on the left side of forehead. All emotions at once, with tension in my back, tension on my shoulders. Okay, what behavior will cue you that this part has taken over? For example, withdrawing from your partner, taking over a conversation, or eating too much. So I put desire to hide or suicidal thoughts, triggers, hypomania and depression, verbally abuse, attack, trigger people. What situations or people tend to activate this part? For example, meeting someone you are attracted to, giving a talk, or being disobeyed by your son. My mom, aunt, and cousin, husband, and his sisters. 9 fucking years of my life with that fucking piece of shit family who is not Christian. When are these likely to occur during the next week? Spending time with my husband and talking to my mom. So basically my 2 triggers are talking to my mom and spending time with my husband, who I dated for like, I was in a relationship with or friend with for 11 years. Set an intention to be especially aware of whether this part becomes activated during those times. Each time you notice that the part is triggered, access it briefly and take a few notes about it. If you can't stop in the moment to take notes, do it at your next break or as soon as you can so it will be fresh in your memory. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to review the day for moments when the part was activated. Add it to your notes at the same time. This daily review will also help you keep this exercise in mind the following day. So write this down, guys. Notes to take each time this happens. So each time you want to explore your parts, you close your eyes, you ask it those questions. Write down the situation that made you access this part, that made you angry, that made you this, that made you that. How you experience that part, what it looks like, what it feels like, where you feel it in your body. What about this situation triggered the part? So like what specific thing was said or done that made this part come alive in you? Okay. Don't expect perfection. You probably won't catch all the times this part is activated or be clear about what is going on each time. That is very difficult to do. You may be driving or trying to get a project finished or talking with someone, for example. So it may be difficult to be aware of much else. That's fine. Just do the best you can. Sample. Noticing a part in real time. Part. Indulger. What it feels emotionally. Wild and out of control. What it looks like. A big mouth. What it feels like in your body and where. Like an empty hole in my belly that needs filling. What the part says. I won't stop. I need more and more. What it makes you behave. How it makes you behave. It eats out of control. It eats foods that are not healthy for me and doesn't stop when I'm full. What it wants. To keep filling up an empty hole so I don't feel any emotional pain. This is literally my mom to a T when my dad would be verbally abusive to her. Noticing the part. What behavior will cue you that the part has taken over? Finishing a meal and taking seconds, even though I am not hungry anymore. Snacking between meals right out of the refrigerator. Buying junk food when I know I shouldn't eat. What situations or people tend to activate this part? Family members, holidays, stressful situations where I'm afraid I will be judged, being alone. When are these likely to occur during the next week? Pressure at work, having no plans for the weekend. Okay. So we will do chapter 5 next time, guys. So I'm going to leave you with that. I will say, if you find while you're doing this that you have triggers, which we all do, it's just how you react to those triggers, how you like handle the stress, whatever. So like some people have very intense reactions depending on the abuse that they experienced that caused their mental illness that is triggering to them. And other people, it's not as bad. So like my 2 triggers were my mom and my ex-husband. So my mom did the majority of the damage control and she was an adult when she did it. So she knew better. So like I have very, very limited patience with her. I have very limited of respect and trust in her. And she did that. That is her 100% on her. And she doesn't fucking take responsibility or ownership for any of it. She apologized one time in a therapy section that she came to with my dad, and she keeps lording that over me. Well, I apologized that one time, Chelsea. You shouldn't still be upset about this. Like, I'm supposed to just fucking forget, like, 36 years of my fucking life of her emotionally, physically, and psychologically, mentally, whatever, abusing me. I'm supposed to just forget all of it because she apologized one fucking time. Fuck no. So, like, I block her, I unfriend her. I've had therapists tell me to just don't have anything to do with her. But, like, and I've made it super fucking easy. I've told her to go to therapy. I've told her to go to psychiatry. I can't afford it. I don't have insurance, blah, blah, blah. So then I send her resources of, like, free fucking insurance that are literally, like, blocks from her fucking house that she can easily go to. And, like, she has an excuse for that. Like, we talked to her about going to church. She has a fucking excuse for, like, she has a fucking excuse for fucking everything. She is the most stubborn fucking human being I've ever met. Like, I literally think she is the devil and God made me raised by her. So that way I would know, like, I don't know what it's like to have the God, like God the Father watching out for me and the devil fucking like pissing me off every fucking day of my entire life and like literally like destroying my entire everything. So like, thankfully she didn't break me. Like, so like I'm stronger than that. And like, I have good friends and I have other family members that are not assholes to me. So like, that's fine. But like, I would literally be like sitting, like this is like my final straw when we decided to move to Texas. Like we decided to move to Texas, one, so I could get away from her. That was like the biggest reason. Two, like we wanted warmer weather. Three, I wanted to get a job in journalism instead of marketing and communications, which I've been doing for like 5 fucking years since I graduated when the economy was shit. Like we didn't want to buy the house we lived in and settle there, and like we didn't want to be in Wisconsin. We wanted to be somewhere warm, and like with better jobs. So we moved and did that. But like one of the last it was like our first year of marriage and like holidays. So like I lived in my great grandpa's house, and literally the first holiday I hosted, I think, was a Thanksgiving, the day of thanks, guys. I fucking hosted with the fucking Stack and Grand family. And so like my mom and my grandma and like I don't fucking know who else. Like everybody was like reminiscing about the good old days at my grandpa's house, and it was nice. It started off nice, and then all of a sudden it was, I wonder if this stuff is still in the junk drawer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He hasn't lived in this house in like decades. And they're like, oh, we need to see. And they like open my fucking drawer and they're like, this isn't a junk drawer. And they're like yelling at me because I didn't keep it as a junk drawer. I decided to put silverware or whatever I fucking put in there. I'm like, that's because it's not his house and his shit hasn't been in here in decades. Like other people have lived here since then. Like it was rented out to a bunch of other people. My Uncle Jack and his like wife lived in there for a little while. So like he literally hasn't lived in there in like 2 decades. And for whatever reason, they thought like they were going to open the fucking drawer and it was going to be just like it was 20 years ago. And that this fucking junk drawer was still going to be preserved. Like, are you fucking crazy? So like, and then they're like going in the basement, like, remember when grandpa used to put cigarettes up here? And they're like feeling around. They're like, there's no cigarettes. And they're like mad at me because I didn't put cigarettes in the fucking, like, are you fucking kidding me, guys? Like, what is wrong with you? And then they're like, well, grandma used to always have the like fine china right here. Why aren't you putting the fine china right here, Chelsea? And like Aaron and I are looking at each other like, are they fucking bad shit crazy? Like, and then I just like snapped. I was like, get out of my fucking house. I was like, this is my fucking house. Okay. I will decorate it with my husband how we choose. Grandpa has not lived here for 20 fucking years. This is no longer his home. This is our fucking home that we are renting from Uncle Jack. And I was like, if you have a problem with the way we're decorating and how we choose to set up our home, you can get the fuck out. Like, and my mom's like all pissed. She like comes into my fucking face like she's ready to start beating me up to a fucking pulpit because she's a fucking bitch and crazy psychopath. And so I get in her face and I'm like, this is my house. I am an adult. I am married. This is how we are decorating our home. Like, if you have a fucking problem, you can get the fuck out. You are invited here as a guest. You're being very rude. You're being super fucking controlling and crazy. Like, you're fucking nuts. Like, I do not want you here. Like, Thanksgiving is over. Get the fuck out. And so, like, my dad is trying to calm people down. Aaron's trying to calm, like, grandma. Everybody's trying to calm people down that isn't me or my mom. And, like, my grandma realized, like, the error in her ways. And so, like, she apologizes and, like, realized that was ridiculous, even though it was her house growing up and it was her dad's house. Like, to think that her granddaughter is going to decorate it the exact same way is not okay. And she shouldn't have said that. And so like, she's trying to soften the blow. And my mom is just sitting here, stubborn fucking bitch, staring me down. Like, literally, I just wanted to rip her fucking hair out of her head and beat the shit out of her. Like, I fucking wanted to so fucking bad, but I didn't. Instead, I was like, do you still have a problem, Mom? And she's just like, I was like, clearly you still have a problem. Why don't you leave? Like, you're not welcome in my home. Go. Just go. Get the fuck out right now. And then, like, everybody's like, Chelsea, you can't kick your mom out and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I fucking can't kick her out. And so, like, anyway, so, like, that was, like, one of the final straws. Then Easter was definitely a final straw. I'd been offered this job. Aaron needed some space. Like, we weren't in a good place. We were probably going to get a divorce. We were seeing, like, our pastor who did premarital counseling for us. And so this is the ex-husband that I'm now divorced with. But this was our first year of marriage that this happened. And so, like, he went to his family's for Easter. I said, I'm going to stay with my family for Easter. We're just going to take like a beat and like reevaluate this when we get back because I'm taking this job, whether he wants to come with me or not. And he needs to make a decision after the end of the weekend if he's coming with me. He did come with me. We were fine. We made up. And then like 5 other times we talked about getting divorced after that and went in and out of marriage therapy and like whatever. So we tried very hard. We have no regrets. We've had many conversations about this since. Like, we're very much happier without each other. So basically moving from Wisconsin to Texas helped improve mine and my mom's relationship, and divorcing my husband helped me improve my relationship with him and my mental health, both of them. Like, I felt like much better mentally once I was like 7 states away from my mom. And now that I am 3.5 hours away from my ex-husband, I feel even better. So like, basically, like, triggers, like, whether you love your trigger or not, sometimes they're just not healthy for you. Like, they're not good, and you need to walk away from that relationship. And like, I feel like you shouldn't just give up easily, especially if it's someone you love, like your mom or your husband. Like, you should try really hard to make it work. But like, I've tried 36 years, and this is what works for my mom and I. Is like, we talked on the phone today, and then she hung up on me because she didn't like my attitude, and I'm probably not going to talk to her for several more days. So that's fine. Like, that's just how it goes with me and my mom. Like, if I was going to be on earth and I was going to die as like an old woman, whatever, which isn't going to happen to me, thank God. But like, my mom and I would probably be the type of relationship that the final thing we said to each other was probably an argument, and one of us died, and we're never going to see each other again. And that we just have to live with that. So I can totally 100% see that as our future if that were to happen. So I don't know. And then Aaron, like I like when I would have episodes, like if I had my episode, it usually lasted anywhere from a couple days to a week. And when I was depressed, it would last anywhere from a week to 3 to 6 months. Like, and it would literally be me in bed, not getting out of bed for like weeks and weeks and weeks. He would have to come in and like get me out of bed and tell me I have to eat something. And he would come up, he would get really good at it. He got really good at mastering my depression. Like, the hypomania never really bothered him, like, because he got like sex all the time. So like, it didn't bother him. But like, he would say, Chelsea, how much money did you, like, I would come back and I'd be like, I spent this much money. Like, whatever. Cause I did like a bipolar workbook, and he like did like an audio book while he was running. He's a runner. So he was running and he listened to this like audio book on like loving someone with bipolar disorder, it's called. So like, it was very helpful. And he came to my therapy sessions, like not all the time, but like probably once a quarter, a couple times a year. And so that was helpful. He asked like my therapist questions, like what he can do. And like, I remember this is like my favorite therapy session with him. So like, we were talking to my trauma therapist, and I was telling him that I really liked her and I'm learning a lot from her. And like, so like, he was like excited to meet her. And so like, we go there and she tells us it's her last day. And I was like, what? And I was like, who's going to be my therapist? And I was like freaking out. And that's when I met Quinn. So it was fine. But like, and Quinn introduced me to IFS, so it ended up being a really good thing. But like, I was like freaking out, like she's leaving. Like, what am I gonna do? And so like, Aaron and I are having this conversation. So Aaron's like, so this is the last time I'm gonna see you. You've been working with my wife for a year. He's like, what tips do you have for me? What advice do you have? And he's like telling me all this. And so she's like, Chelsea doesn't seem to think that you appreciate her, and she doesn't seem to think that you love her. And Chelsea has like issues with trust and like self-esteem, and like the person she has to find somebody who's gonna love her because she didn't feel loved by her parents. So like, he said he had this like coin in his pocket, a 2-faced coin, like, so that way one side was my hypomania and one side was my depression, and that he had it in his pocket. And he said that every time he thinks of me, he touches it. And I like looked at him and I was like, how why didn't you tell me that? And he's like, I'm telling you right now. And I was like, how long have you had this thing in your pocket? And he's like, shortly after you got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I thought it would come in handy like later on to tell you this. And I'm like, you could have told me this. Like, I've like been bipolar, like had a bipolar diagnosis for like a year. And I was like, that was like the nicest, sweetest thing he's like ever said to me. And like, he like saved it for like a whole fucking year till he told it in the fucking therapist's office. And like, my therapist is like about to cry. She thought that was like the sweetest thing ever. And I'm just like angry at him that he didn't even tell me. Like after she said, I don't feel appreciated and loved, he fucking says that. Like, you could have told me before, Aaron. Like, so after that, like that, like literally like lifted my spirits up for like ever. Is he would touch, I like knew he was touch, and he would tell me after that, I'd be like, I touched my coin today, and I'd be like, that's good. And then like, there was one time, I think it was a few years later, I brought it up like in a couples therapy session, and he said, yeah, I got rid of that. I was like, you got rid of the coin that makes you think of me? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, so yeah, so I feel like anyway, so when I was hypomanic, the things that he would like help with is if I spent money on something. Like I'm not a shopper, but like I like buying like cheap jewelry and I like buying clothes at thrift stores. Like clothes at thrift stores and cheap jewelry from like Facebook Marketplace stuff that like they promote is like my kryptonite, you guys. So like I like love buying that shit. So like he like if I spent too much money on something, he would get like really upset. So how he combated this is he had a separate bank account for himself that he felt comfortable. Because there was one big purchase I made, it was only $200, but it was a big purchase nonetheless, bigger than I've ever made when I was hypomanic. And I bought these bunk beds because we were finally going to be adopting from foster care, and we were finally doing like this, like working with, like we had finished all the like adoption paperwork, and we were going to take this training in a month. And so like I like wanted to get like our the guest bedroom ready for these children. So like I got this like super cool like loft thing with a desk under it, and like we had a futon already in that room. Well, it wasn't a futon, it was like this like IKEA like pull out day bed that was like a turtle bed, so we could technically have 3 kids in there, which was like my dream, to have 2 boys and a girl. So like I was like, one kid's gonna sleep, like the oldest kid's gonna sleep on the top bunk, and like the little kid's gonna sleep here, and the other kid's gonna protect it with the trundle bed, and like we can have all 3 of our kids in this room. So like I like painted the thing, like I decorated the whole room, like I was super excited. I was like nesting is what my mom calls it. And like Aaron, like they dropped off the bunk bed because it had to be on a trailer because we had like a small car, couldn't fit and bring it there. And Aaron got like furious. He like said, you should have talked to me before you bought this. I needed to make the decision with you on the bunk bed. I'm like, I brought it up multiple times so you didn't want to. So Aaron wasn't ready to be a dad, which was like, instead of saying that, he would tell me he doesn't want to be a father with me because of my mental illness, or he doesn't want to do this because of my mental illness, or like he would just have really shitty things to say. And his whole fucking family, like, they're all fucking assholes, and there's nothing fucking Christian about those kids that were raised by a fucking pastor's son. Just saying. Their dad is even fucking Christian either. So like he is, but he isn't. He didn't do a good job as a father raising his children to be good Christian kids. Instead, he played a bunch of fucking games with them, was super controlling, talked down to his wife. Like he was a Wells fucking pastor, and that's how Wells fucking pastors are. Not all of them, but the majority of the ones I've met are. And I've met a lot of fucking Wells pastors. So because they treat women like fucking shit, and like they put so much fucking pressure on their kids. Like it's not okay, Wells pastors. It's not fucking okay how you treat your kids and your fucking wives. Do better. Okay, so then like, are you guys ready to come in? Janice? It's back, huh? Do you know where your sister is? Janice? Janice? Are you coming in? Or are you staying out? What are you doing? Vax is inside, Ty's inside, I'm inside. Are you gonna stay outside a little bit longer? Or are you coming in? It's hot. You wanna come in for some water and then go back outside and explore? What do you wanna do? Janice, what are you gonna do? I'm not holding this door open longer. It's very hot and the air conditioning is letting out. Thank you. Are you coming in? Good girl. Good decision. Why don't you get some water and then decide if you want to explore some more, okay? Because it's very hot outside. Get some water, cool off in the AC, and then you can go back outside later, okay? Okay. All right. I don't even know where I was going with this tangent, guys. Okay. So he would take my credit card. So he opened up his own bank account because it just made him feel better. So we had a joint bank account that I had access to with him. That was like all of our like mutual stuff. And then he had this separate like bank account that I had no access to, didn't have a debit card for it, didn't have a password, like literally like his secret fucking bank account. And I used to like tell him like, is that for your like your girlfriend? Is that for like your second wife? Like all this stuff. That none of that was true. None of that happened. But like he felt safer and more secure knowing that there was this like little nest egg that I couldn't disturb. And like he used it for multiple things. Like we used it to like pay for gas this one time when like our debit card like wasn't working because we were living in an RV and like the address was a mail forwarding address instead of like a residential address. So like whatever. So like he used it for us all the time. Like it wasn't like he was like doing something like dirty and wrong with his money. Like he wasn't, but like he needed to have this separate like bank account. So like he would put, I think like 75% of his paycheck went to our joint bank account and like 25% went to this like separate bank account. He just felt better knowing that he had this like income in this separate bank account. So that was like his thing that he needed to do. And I was fine with it. And then if he noticed that I had just gone on like a shopping spree, which was literally like I spent like $10 on Facebook Marketplace, he'd be like, how many fancy jewelry did you buy? And I'd be like, 5. And he'd be like, what do you think we should do about that? And I would be like, it's not that bad. I only spent like $10. And he's like, Chelsea, he's like, how late did you stay up to buy these things? And I'd be like, 3 a.m. And he'd be like, do you think that sounds like you're hypomanic? And I'd be like, I guess. And then he'd be like, did you do this, this, and this? And I'm like, yeah. And then he'd like go through like the list of like the things that were like leading up to like the triggers to my hypomania. And then he'd be like, I think you should give me your debit card, because we didn't have credit cards. He's like, I think you should give me your debit card. He's like, you can have your checkbook and you can have whatever cash is in your thing. He's like, did you get gas? Did you do this? Like he'd make sure like I didn't need money for like a couple days. And he'd be like, you're usually only hypomanic for a couple days, so just give it to me for a couple days and then I'll give it back to you in a couple days. And I'd be like, fine. So I'd give him my debit card and he'd have control of it for 2 days or whatever. And then when he started noticing that I like was doing better, he'd be like, he would just give it back to me. So that was like what we did with that. And then, so that was like how he handled my hypomania. And then there was one time like I was speeding really fast. That was like another thing that I did. Like if I got a speeding ticket or whatever, I was usually hypomanic. And then he'd be like, do you feel safe to drive today? And I'd be like, yeah, I feel safe to drive. And he'd be like, do you feel safe to drive and obey the speed limits? And I would be like, probably not. And he'd be like, I'm going to take you to work today then, or I'm going to drive us to church, or you're not driving at all. Give me your keys. So like he would take my keys until he noticed that I was better. And then he would give me my keys back, or he would just drive me everywhere and I would just willingly let him drive me everywhere. And like, then he felt safer knowing I wasn't going to get a speeding ticket. I wasn't going to get into an accident. And like, that was like how he handled it. So he did a very good job with hypomania. Depression, he had a really difficult time mastering. And that was like ultimately like the downfall of our marriage. So like, because it lasted a long time. That's why they like re-diagnosed me instead of bipolar 2 with bipolar depression, because my mania was very mild and like it wasn't even mania, it was hypomania, which is very mild and it would only last a couple days. So like a week at most, and that was like one time that happened. So like and it was because there was like a lot of stress going on. So like for depression, like he would be like, what did he say? Okay, so like he talked to my therapist like on what he should do when I'm depressed, because that he seemed to struggle with the most is like he didn't know how to get me out of bed. He didn't know how to get me to eat. He didn't know how to get me to exercise. He didn't know how to get me to go to work. He didn't know how to get me to take care of the pets. He didn't know, like he literally, Aaron is not a maternal person. Aaron is like a very independent, wild, crazy person. And like I love that about him, but I also hate it about him, because when I do need him to like take care of me and help me with something, like when I'm sick or whatever, like he's not helpful. Like he's not helpful at all. Like when I had my bunionectomies before I was diagnosed with bipolar, like he fucking got wasted and like threw up literally all over our fucking house. Like he threw up in the fucking bathtub. He threw up like in the fucking toilet. He threw up fucking everywhere. And I was like fucking furious because I like had cleaned everything before my surgery, because it said that like if I'm going to like need help showering, I'm going to like need to limp to the toilet, like I'm going to need to use crutches to get around, I'm going to be in a cast, like it's going to be like months long of this like process. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to clean all this stuff. So I like cleaned everything super thoroughly, and he fucking vomits literally fucking everywhere. And I'm like, you're fucking cleaning all this fucking shit up. And I was like, you need to sober the fuck up. You need to like make dinner for me. You need to like do all this fucking stuff. You're supposed to be fucking taking care of me, you fucking piece of shit. And he like felt terrible. And he's like crying and like cleaning everything up and like whatever. I was glad it happened our first year of marriage because his true colors came through, and like that was like part of like when we were gonna get a divorce, and like I don't know, and then it didn't happen. We stayed together, and then he like came to Texas with me for my job, so like he made up for it. But like anyway, so like when I was depressed, like I wouldn't even take my medication. Like I wouldn't do anything. I would literally not get out of bed for like days. So like he like decided he was gonna like do tough love. Like he tried psychological mind games for like a little while. Like he would like mess with me to see if he could get me out of bed. And then he tried like he'd like start researching like different ways. So, like it was like pretty funny. And then he'd like come in and he'd like try something and I'd like look up from the bed and I'd be like, is this another game? And he'd be like, this isn't a game, I'm serious. And I'd be like, and I'd like sit there and I'd be like, fine, I'll try this. Or like, fine, I'll try that and see if it works. And be like, good, you got out of bed. Or like, good, you lifted your head off the pillow. Or good, you just took your medication. And then he like literally like rewarded me like I was a little fucking child because that's how he thought I was fucking acting. And I fucking was. Like, I was just like super depressed. So like he'd be like, Chelsea, you took your medication. Yes, high five. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Or like, Chelsea, you ate food today. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Or like, Chelsea, you got out of bed for a whole hour. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Or like, oh, you stopped watching Netflix for one time in 6 hours. I'm so proud of you. Or like, oh, you stopped playing video games for 6 hours. I'm so proud of you. Like, so like any like lazy, depressed thing that I was doing, like if I did something like you swept the floor, you walked the dog, like you went running with me, like you went on a bike ride while I ran, like he would like invite me. Like usually like if he went running, he likes being by himself when he runs. But if I was depressed, he would purposely invite me to go running with him. And then it would always take me like 2 hours to get out of bed, to get dressed, to get ready. And this is literally all I was doing. Getting out of bed, getting dressed, and like getting like the few things I needed to go running, like my like gummies and my water bottle. And that took 2 hours, guys, to do 3 fucking things. That's how fucking depressed I was. Like I would stare at my clothes for like an hour. And he'd be like, did you decide what you're going to wear yet? Like this is like sad, guys. He'd be like, did you decide what you're going to wear yet? And I'm like, and he'd be like, what about this shirt? Like, what about these shorts? These look good. You should wear these. And I'd be like, I can't wear those. And he'd be like, why not? And I'd be like, well, this one has like this issue. And like, this one makes me feel fat. Or like, I don't fit in this one anymore. Like, and he'd be like, here, borrow mine. Like, borrow mine. Or like, let's go to the store and get you new ones. Or like, he'd like try so fucking hard, guys. Like, and so like, it would take me an hour just to pick out what shorts and like tank top or t-shirt I was going to wear to go running and like put on socks and shoes. And like, you would just get like, anyway, so like he would always invite me to go running. And if it was a short run, if he wanted to do a long run, he would ask me to bike with him. And like he would just keep asking me. And then he would get really mad because it would be like dark by the time we would go, if it was like after work or something. And like when he was working from home during COVID, like it wasn't as bad. Like he would try to come home on lunch breaks just to make sure like I would eat before that. And like he would call me like a couple times during the day while he was like working, just like check on me to make sure I got out of bed and I did something. He would put like to-do lists together and like put like check boxes by them because he knew that I like crossing stuff off my list. And like he tried like everything, guys. Like, and so I remember like when we were living in the RV, I was like super depressed one time for like a week. It wasn't like my longest one, but it was pretty long. And like I couldn't get out of bed to do my cerebral app like therapy. So like he like asked me like what he had to press to like open it up so that way I could talk to my therapist. He's like, your therapy session is in 5 minutes, Chelsea. Like you need to do your therapy session. I was like, what's the point? I don't see the fucking point of doing this. And so like he like brought it up on the app, like as I was telling him what to do. And then he's like, what, do I press this button or this button? Do I do this? Where do I go next? And he's like showing it to me and I'm like telling him what to do and he's doing it. And then he literally for the entire 45-minute session, he stood next to the bed holding the like phone so my therapist could talk to me. And then like my therapist finally, I think like halfway through, he's like, Chelsea, you need to take the phone and talk to me. Aaron needs to do other things. You need to have this therapy session right now. And so like I would get like frustrated and I'd take the phone and then Aaron just like stood there and he's like, do you want me to like sit with you while you continue? And I was like, no, you can go whatever you're going to go do. And so like he like left. And so like I'm alone with my therapist and he's like talking to me and he's trying to figure out what the trigger was and like what happened. And like, I don't know. So like, I don't know. It's like literally when he like said he wanted a divorce, it was like this huge weight like came off of me, like this like part in my body that has been like telling me to leave this man for like ever, like finally was just like, yes. Like, so like, I don't know. So like, I had a friend who like told me that like I need to like heal from my heartache from him and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I don't like, I had already done that. Like, I'd been doing that for the whole 9 years that I was like engaged and married to him. And like, even like the day before our wedding, like I called him and I told him I was calling off the wedding and I wasn't coming. And like, he got like really upset and like we worked it out and we were fine. But like, I almost jilted him. Like, I almost did not even come. So like, anyway, so like, so I just, if like there's a person who you discover is the reason that you have this part, this whatever the angry part is, the sad part, the perfection part, whatever your part is, that like is associated with another human being, and that person is your trigger, take a break from them. Like, even if you live in the same house, like move out for a little while, like go live with someone else. Like, don't be around that part, because that part is not good for you. It's not healthy. It's trying to tell you something, and you need space from that trigger to be able to explore this part. So if you're doing this, if you're working on this stuff, you guys, and like you find out like, oh my God, my trigger is my spouse, or my trigger is my child, or my trigger is like whoever, like take a break. Like, take a break from that trigger. Like, if your trigger is your child and you're a single parent, like ask a relative who you trust, who you know will take good care of your kid, or someone who has a special bond with your kid, and ask them to take them for even just a few hours. Like, if you can't afford to have them spend the night at this person's house or whatever, or like have them come and spend the night at your house while you go somewhere else, go camping, go on a trip, do whatever. Like, try to figure out like why this person is a trigger to you, and like keep doing IFS like while you're away from this person, and try to explore what the part says to you when that trigger is not around. Like, that's going to be literally like your therapeutic breakthrough, is finding out why this person is a trigger and why you have a part because of that person. So like, anyway, so basically like I don't even have episodes anymore. Like, I had like a 3-day depression, which is the shortest depression I've had in my entire fucking life, like since I got a divorce. And then in the 6 months that I have been not married to Aaron, like technically we've been not married for like 3 months, 4 months. March, April, 4 months. But like, we filed for divorce in December, like literally the day after Christmas. And it was the best. Him putting the divorce papers underneath the Christmas tree was literally the second best present he got me for Christmas, other than the ukulele that he bought me. So like I was not hurt. I was happy. I was relieved. Like, I felt at peace. Like, I felt the opposite of heartbroken. Like, there were moments like over the next like 6 months that I definitely felt lonely and I missed him and I felt heartbroken. I felt like I lost my best friend, but like we agreed like we were going to communicate and we're going to work through it, and we're going to share custody of our dog until he dies. And so like, he's still going to be a part of my life. Like, I talked to him yesterday for like a half hour. I talked to him on Memorial Day for 45 minutes. Like, before that we took like a month of not talking. So like, it's like he's still a part of my life. He's still always going to be an important part of my life. But like, living with him was not healthy for me. Being married to him was not healthy for me. And so like, I'm healthier, I'm happier not being with him. I don't even have hypomanic episodes. Like, I think I've had like an hour or two of hypomania, and that's it. And like, depression has lasted 3 days. So like, I don't take medication anymore. Like, I'm very stable. Like, I'm in the best place in my life. I just live in fucking Texas, which is fucking crazy. And they put people in psychiatric hospitals after they go to prison for shit they didn't even fucking do. And then like, it's whatever. So like, it's unfortunate, but it's all part of God's plan. And maybe he'll give me a Pulitzer Prize someday. Who knows? But I'm going to finish eating my food, which is now cold. I'm going to reheat my food. Okay, guys. Later. See you for chapter 5 next time. Bye.